On today's show, we discuss the fallout from the doubleheader on Monday against the Nashville Predators. We go deeper into some of the enhancements at Amerant Bank Arena, and the Florida Panthers play another preseason game tonight. We're going to discuss what Paul Maurice's approach is for the third preseason game.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, September 27th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez, and you can follow me on X at MonoMan12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. And shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. You can follow the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And subscribe to the YouTube channel because you are going to see a lot more than just the podcast here. You're going to see a whole bunch of media availabilities, possibly some B-roll from the practices. So go ahead and follow us on YouTube and search Locked On Panthers. But it is a Wednesday, which means it is a Winans Wednesday edition of the show where we're going to discuss more of the fallout of the Florida Panthers' doubleheader sweep against the Nashville Predators and much more here on the show. Jacob Winans, welcome back to the show, my friend, and good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning, and it's always good to be here talking hockey. I'll let it slide. I just now noticed you're wearing a Knowles hat, and I've got my hat on, so we'll have to overlook that for the day. But good morning to you.
Fun fact: when before you joined the stream and I brought you in, I saw the hat you were wearing. So without even saying anything, I'm like, oh, I know what hat I'm gonna wear today. So for the show. So, but let's go right into the fallout of the doubleheader sweep for the Florida Panthers against the Nashville Predators, and like we spoke about on Tuesday's show. I mean, there's a lot of things that were clicking. The Tkachuk line, Bennett, Tkachuk, and Cousins line. Spencer Knight looks sharp, even looking at the media availability after the fact, because when I do solo shows on recaps, I focus mostly on the show because I cannot scroll through X and talk at the same time. It's a little easier when you have someone. So now looking at it after the fact, after the recap, and also the compliments that other guys have had with chatting about other guys like the Oliver Ekman-Larssons, Eetu Luostarinen, with a lot of praise on Oliver Ekman-Larsson on his vision on the ice is really good. And also a lot of the talk was about good habits at 5-on-5 as well, even when not spending a lot of time or any time working on the power play. Paul Maurice also spoke about how it really didn't matter whether they were working on the power play or not. A lot of the guys were playing on the power play for most of their career, so it's not like they lost that touch. And look what happened in game number 1, 4 of 9 on the power play. What were your overall thoughts on watching the first 2 games of the preseason?
Yeah, well, some of it was expected for me because a lot of the guys that have played as recently as the Stanley Cup final, which Nashville obviously was nowhere near that. So they've had a lot more time off. So I figure this preseason, the Panthers are kind of going to be a little bit more of a well-oiled machine than a lot of the teams they play. That's just going to come with it because they played more recently. But what I will say is that the new guys fit in really seamlessly. I was very encouraged by goaltending. Spencer Knight, Sergei Bobrovsky, Matt Guzda. I believe it was Ludovic Weber who got in after Spencer Knight. I thought goaltending was an area of extreme strength in the first 2 games. I loved the defensive production. I loved how the defense was chipping in offensively. Oliver Ekman-Larsson looked spectacular.
Mhm.
Dmitry Kulikov and his return back to South Florida had a monster game in the second game, which was really cool to see. Gus Forsling looks like Gus Forsling. Um, like you said, the Bennett, Kachuk, Cousins line that looks like something that could stick because they looked good. They looked productive again, and Etu, I love seeing his scoring touch. That's something that we're looking to see continue to grow for him. And Mackie Samoskevich, I think out of everyone on both rosters, he was the guy who jumped out the most for me in those first two games. And he played in game one, scores twice, gets an assist. And that was the first time he's ever suited up for a Panthers preseason game. He's never played a game with professionals as a Florida Panther, and he dominated. He didn't look out of place at all. He was fantastic. So yeah, he definitely jumped out at me as a guy who could potentially make the team in year one, which we've talked about at length this offseason. Will he make the team? Is he ready? He looked pretty ready in that first game. So my eyes are on him the rest of preseason to see how this develops.
No doubt, and also lots of praise to that he gave to Etu Lustoinen and Anton Lundell about great communicators on the ice and on the bench. Even though he's not, even though he doesn't really score a lot from in front of the net on deflections, that was a goal that we saw from Mackey, and a lot of praise towards Gus Forsling as far as getting the shot and him being in front and right place, right time, getting the puck redirected into the net, and spoke about a lot about eating cleaner in in the pro game and helps with energy and all that stuff. But we spoke a lot about the defense. We spoke about OEL, Dmitry Kulikov. We have not mentioned Nico Mikkola too much, but the big frame once again that is going to really help with Nico Mikkola, and it just goes. It's just more. I think more and more about, and like I said on Tuesday, we don't want to overreact to one game, but there is that possibility that all the issues that we spoke about with the defensive debt with Montour and Ekblad out, there is that possibility that this defense could be not necessarily better without them, but benefit in the long run when they do return. Are we at a point yet where what we talked about in the offseason might have been overblown about the defense taking a huge step back?
I think it's definitely a little bit overblown. I do think it's still an area of concern. We're not going to be able to expect perfectly clean performance from this defensive group the entire time without Ekblad and Montour until December. That would be unrealistic. But it's not like we're relying on an overly young defense. We're not relying on a defense that has little NHL experience or guys who are AHL caliber players. We plug those holes with NHL veterans who've been around, who've played with many teams, who've been in all situations. It's an experienced group, and I think when you're trying to fill a gap for I don't want to call it short term because it's not really short term, but when you're trying to fill a gap for a couple months or 6 to 8 weeks or whatever from the start of the season, experience tends to win out in those situations because early in the season there's a lot of teams that are getting their feet wet, that are not really firing on all cylinders yet. You can afford to plug and play veterans in those situations against those teams and not have it be a massive net negative. And I think that's where we're at. We've got a group defensively that I think can carry their weight. I think they can stay above water. And when Ekblad and Montour get back, I think we'll be better for it because we'll have a ton of depth defensively, which last season we just didn't have. We're going to have a ton of depth defensively, which is huge, especially guys who are coming off injuries. If there are injuries, if there are nights where guys need a rest, you have that veteran depth that can fill in. It helps at the trade deadline if there's salary to be moved or players that now have increased value because they've put good game film, and I think it's a net positive at the end of the day, as long as we're able to stay above water, and I think we can. And then there's a guy like Oliver Ekman-Larsson who could looks like he could be an exception to the just stay above water. This is a guy who at one point was an absolute all-star defenseman, and if he's able to get back to that form, now you have another all-star defenseman on a cheap deal, and then Montour and Ekblad come back. Now that decor is looking pretty scary. So I think it's at the end of the day, it could be a really, really big positive that these guys are going to get the ice time. They're gonna get the chemistry, and when you get Ekblad and Montour back, I think that only improves things defensively. So to answer your question, yes, overblown. Yes, a concern.
Yeah. So and it really helps that when it comes to the tough 4 days of camp, something that Dmitry Kulikov spoke after the game, that the guys are ready. And yeah, Kulikov has that experience being coached under Paul Maurice back in Winnipeg, but now the Florida Panthers, after getting through the first 2 games, guys are sent back to junior hockey as well, which we're going to discuss more about in segment number 3 about the guys who went back to junior hockey. Now more of the fundamental stuff is going to be implemented in camp versus mostly conditioning and seeing where you are and how your summer was to prepare you for that as well. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss more about the Emirates Bank Arena enhancements that is going to help the fan experience this year. But we're going to tell you all about DoorDash. And are you missing the syrup for your pancakes, or just ran out of your favorite coffee creamer? With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can get what you want right when you need it. Love the convenience of getting what you want right at your door. With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order last minute cravings conveniently. Need fresh groceries for the week or don't have the time to go to the store? Try grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it, right to your door. You trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, but now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. You want more value? You could save all your money on your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a DoorDash Pass membership. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order, up to $20 value when you use code LOCKED at checkout. Limited time only. Terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and $0 delivery fee on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKED. Don't forget, that's code LOCKED for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. Segment number 2 here on this Wednesday, September 27th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So, something that we didn't get to discuss yet, and there has been 2 preseason games played already, but before we get into the arena enhancements, I know we've seen photos on the internet. There's the leaked photo of the Leaping Panther with the 30th anniversary logo on Emirates Bank Arena. And first of all, it's so great that we're gonna see that at center ice all season long. And by the way, for the listeners out there, we have a survey of ranking the top 30 players to ever put on a Florida Panthers sweater. We will put that in the show notes for you guys to rank them yourselves. And there's up to 60 players. You rank them all, and then we're going to dedicate some episodes on the top Panthers of all time. But Jacob, the Florida Panthers and Emirates Bank Arena announced some enhancements, which, if you're putting 2 and 2 together, like we spoke about last week with the new arena name, we are going to see more renovations to the arena than we are to see that we are more likely to see enhancements versus an actual new arena for the Florida Panthers. So those enhancements include a new HVAC units, new LED sports lighting to bring out more of the show, state of the art Zambonis, a fan boni experience, and one other one that was heavily rumored all offseason, and they actually used this for the Stanley Cup final, which when the goal horn sounds, Jacob, at least when during the Stanley Cup final, it didn't feel like the speakers were going to be blown out of like or destroyed after the goal horn. It was actually more bearable hearing it. And those are just a few that I've named. We're going to list more in this segment, but of those, how much forward are you looking? How much are you looking forward to more of your experience at hockey games now with some of these enhancements?
I think it's great. One on the list that I looked at that I think is going to be really underrated, and not something that we as fans think about too much. But the new Zambonis, I think that's a huge one, because in the past we've heard complaints from players around the league that the ice conditions playing in the Panthers barn have not always been the best, especially early in the season when it's still warm outside and the humidity starts to seep in. We heard, I believe it was Blake Wheeler a few years back, who said it's like playing roller hockey in puddles at the Panthers arena. So I don't think we're going to have that issue anymore. But personally, I am most excited about the new sound system. It's something that has needed improvement for a long time, and there was even a stretch. I want to say it was maybe 2 seasons ago where there was one speaker in the building that actually went out for months. It was a couple of months of the season where there was an entire speaker where half of the arena wasn't getting any sound at all, which I mean, we've come a long way. I'll say that. So I'm excited about the new sound system. New LED lighting is going to look great on TV. And with the Panthers getting more national attention now, having a really good visual product on TV is huge. So I think that's a big help. And as far as player performance, the Zambonis are huge. But personally, it's the sound system for me. I really can't wait to hear it, and I'm hoping that the music choices and everything get a little bit of a refresher, an update, some fresh ideas for in-game entertainment, intermissions, things like that. It's only up from here, but we've got a really good base to start with, definitely.
No doubt, and I was able to hear the goal song pretty clearly on the feed that the Panthers provided, and nothing's fine. I don't think this is final as far as what the goal song is going to be. Hey, we'll know once the October 19th against the Toronto Maple Leafs comes around, and if they play that same song. I actually have the song right here. It's called Left and Right by Omboss and Fast Boy. It's an EDM song that the Florida Panthers are using as far as their goal song, at least right now during the preseason. Actually, that same song was played during Rookie Showcase out in Estero. So, you know, we might see that carry over to the regular season. So as of right now, that is the song. No lyrics, instrumental. So that's what we're going to be seeing. Another one that I'm very interested in seeing is and this is for fans who bring in children with disabilities and also sensitivity to loud noises as well. An ABA Center sensory room, and it's located in section 301 on the upper level, and it's going to be a quiet lounge for those who bring people with disabilities and sensitivity to loud noises. So I think that's a really good thing that the Panthers are doing. And also there's a stable seating that they at section 107 where they could experience ice level game experience with group tickets, and they could high five the team pregame as well. There's also the SeatGeek Sunset Terrace, which the Florida Panthers, they actually have I've seen when I enter the arena that they have like QR codes posted around some signs as far as downloading your ticket via SeatGeek as well. So they're evolving with the times as far as mobile ticketing as well. So it looks like I don't know what their security system is going to be, but I've noticed other sporting events that you just carry your stuff through security and in your hands and it's easier to get through. So I wonder if the Panthers are going to be implementing that. And also Vamos Gatos mural installation in section 128. I can only imagine the Panthers bringing in Carlos Solano to be involved with that, hopefully. And enhanced park lighting as well. There's some of them. There's like over 10, 15 of these, and they're working with different technological companies as well. One's called Check, Purple, one of them SeatGeek, Shift4, and YinzCams. Those are the names of the companies that they will be working in high definition LED walls inside the main doors of the plaza level as well. So those are some of them. These are posted on the Panthers website if you guys want to look more into them. And yeah, this is just the beginning of what is a consistent stay here in West Broward County. So any other of the ones that we hadn't mentioned yet that you are excited about, Jacob?
I'll give you one more. Because I feel like we touched on the biggest ones, but one more that's going to fly under the radar is the waste management sustainability initiative on there, making the arena and operations more sustainable. I think that's huge, especially in the day and age we're in now. But the fact that it's waste management that's the partner on that, I love that. That's a company that was started up by Wayne Huizinga, the Panthers original founder, and having that partnership continue even today is huge. So I love that, and I love the sustainability initiative there as well. That's going to fly under the radar for a lot of people, but I do think that deserves some attention. So I'll leave you with that one.
Cool. So yeah, you're and for the fans, we are definitely looking. I'm hoping that we hear more positive reviews from the fan base, and I'm sure the Panthers will be listening, whether they're good or bad. Hopefully, because we've spoken about the entertainment part of it for a few years now, and I'm sure that they have and they are doing what's best to enhance that experience as well. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where the Florida Panthers do have a game tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tonight, we are going to discuss what to expect, what Paul Maurice said about his approach to tonight's game. We're going to discuss that more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Third and final segment here on this Wednesday, September 27th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. So, Jacob, Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes tonight from PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. And before we get there, the following players for the Florida Panthers have been sent back to junior hockey, and those are Marek Alsher, Sandis Vilmanis, Luke Coughlin, Josh Davies, and Grayson Sachin. So the camp roster is now reduced to 54 players. But Jacob, we spoke about how as far as healthy veterans, whether they were going to play in the doubleheader with expanded rosters in the beginning, especially, it was necessary for everyone who was healthy enough to play. But now that the first round of cuts have happened. Paul Maurice did speak about after the game what his approach will be going into this one. He spoke about sitting some of the NHL ready guys who you don't need to see more of. He spoke specifically Anton Lundell, Gus Forsling, but he did speak a little bit about how maybe Oliver Ekman-Larsson will play in this one due to the fact that he didn't play much last season due to his injury. And Maurice spoke about how valuable guys on the penalty kill from Monday. Spoke a lot about John Ludwig as well specifically, and also some forwards who's played some penalty kill minutes, comparing Steven Lorentz also to William Lockwood and Rasmus Asplund are guys who are going to get a look, even though Asplund did not play in the doubleheader on Monday. But this is going to be a big opportunity where another player I'm going to be looking for, Matt Kiersted, and Lucas Carlson, because I think for John Ludwig, as great as he was on the penalty kill, gets in front of pucks, a little bit undersized at 6'1", 201 pounds. Still, his body is developing. He's been with the Panther system for a while, and let's also not forget that he was given a qualifying offer, so that means something for the Panthers. So we're going to see some of the younger guys play. We're going to see like the Jerry Mayhews, the Skylar Brindamores, more than likely Alexander True as well. Those are other guys that the Panthers are likely going to put out there as well. And Kevin Stenlund, who scored in the doubleheader on Monday. So that's really what the approach is going to be for Paul Maurice. But outside of those guys, the younger guys, the bubble guys, Paul Maurice spoke on Sunday about how Carter Verhaeghe might have a gold non-contact jersey on Wednesday, but might play as well, might put him in. But based on what he said after the doubleheader, I'm not expecting him to suit up on Wednesday night in a game setting. But outside of that, outside of Carter Verhaeghe and all that, how are you looking at tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yeah, tonight's game it's a big opportunity for some of the fringe guys to get some recognition, catch the eye of the coaching staff. That's what you're looking for. And not only that, there's some of these guys are also, they're not auditioning for a spot on the AHL team, but they are auditioning for a role on the AHL team. So guys who play really well in preseason may get the first crack at top 6 minutes in Charlotte. Guys who play well in the preseason for the Panthers may get first or second pair defensive minutes or earn themselves a special teams role in Charlotte, which you never want that. You never want the level of competition and competitiveness to drop, even if the talent level is not the same in the game that's being played tonight. Because the guys that are playing tonight, while they may not be immediate NHL contributors, they have a role in the organization, and you want them to try to earn a more prominent role for whichever team in the system they end up playing for. So that's what I'm looking for, really. And yeah, there are definitely some names that the pressure's on to catch the eye of the coaching staff, to put some good film out there for the coaching staff to consider. I think Matt Kiersted's a big one. His contract is a one-way contract this year. He's a guy that there are expectations on him. Lucas Carlson, he's a guy who was dominant at the AHL level last year. Is he ready to make the jump? He played well 2 seasons ago, being a Panthers regular, but ultimately got replaced at the trade deadline when Robert Haig and Ben Sherratt were brought in. We didn't really see Carlson again. Hasn't really cracked the NHL since. And he was fantastic in the AHL. So is he ready to make the jump? He's a guy I'm looking at. And as we go forward, Grigory Denisenko, we need to see some production. The effort's there, the hustle's there, the being in the right spots is there, but there's been no production. We need to see some production out of Grigory Denisenko. He's running out of time. So those are some of the names and some of the things I'm looking for. Like you said earlier, we're looking for good habits. You want those good habits to extend from the top to the bottom of the organization. I think having depth that can at least produce good habits, makes you feel good about where your pipeline is going into the season. So that's what I'm looking for, and I'm happy. I'm more than happy to let Carter Verhaeghe rest. I'm more than happy to let some of the big guys rest. They had a deep playoff run. There were some pretty nasty injuries. Let's let the big guys pace themselves through preseason. This isn't that important as far as getting them ready. They're going to be ready. Let's just keep their health at the forefront, and let's go into the regular season as whole as we can.
Yeah, and that's basically what Paul Maurice said. We want to keep the NHL guys ready, and they're going to be doing the work. They're going to be. I'm not sure about who's traveling and who's not. If the whole team is going to, because it's only one game there and coming back, so we don't know who's with the team or not as far as that. Another player that I'm really looking forward to seeing, Santtu Kinnunen is a great puck mover in the offensive zone as well, and a late round pick for the Panthers, seventh rounder back in 2018. Had a great year in Charlotte in playing 69 games as well, and not a guy who goes to the penalty box a lot neither. So he's very great in his own zone as well. So that, and like I said, the right-handed shot defenseman, there's not a lot of them in this organization. Yeah, we spoke about Mike Benning. Yeah, and all, but if there's a right-handed shot that is going to also need some to prove something as well, it's going to be Santtu Kinnunen as well. I'm not sure if he plays even a game this season in the NHL as well, but that's it's very important to get that development in him as well. So, because like I said, Matt Kiersted is a left-handed shot. Lucas Carlson's a left-handed shot. Casey Fitzgerald's a right-handed shot. But get a little bit of action, and the Panthers like what they saw in Casey Fitzgerald as well. So, and after claiming him off of waivers, giving him a contract as well. So those are a few guys that I want to see as well. And I want to see more of Justin Sourdif as well. Is great on the puck, and great in the corners as well. Plays above his size, especially at 5'11". He's 5'11". I mean, yeah, he hasn't stopped growing, but I feel like at times that he does definitely play above his size. So that's another player that I want to see. Any final thoughts before we close this out, Jacob?
So I think with preseason hockey, I think we tend to overreact, whether good or bad. Preseason hockey, a lot of times people are like, "Oh my goodness, we're so great," or "Oh my goodness, we're so terrible," based on preseason. Have to remember it's preseason. So when watching these games, watch for development and watch for good habits. The result is fundamentally unimportant because these games don't count on your record. But it's fun to win, sucks to lose. But watching preseason hockey, it's the last chance we're going to get before regular season to just watch hockey for the fun of watching hockey, because the outcome doesn't matter. So just enjoy the games, enjoy watching the guys that hopefully will be the future of the Panthers, and just keep an eye out for good habits and for development. That's all that really matters here.
No doubt. And that's a great way to end it, my friend. So thank you once again for joining me on another Winans Wednesday edition of the show. Tell everybody where they can follow you online.
Yep. You can follow me on X at JacobWinans8.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my friend. And I will see you next week as we will be recapping the Florida Panthers preseason game from Orlando. So can't wait for the next Winans Wednesday, my friend.
Cannot wait. We will both be in attendance for that. I'm looking forward to it.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.